Yeah, just, you got it, right? Okay. Oh, maybe I should bring it up on the thing so I can. That's not it. Well, for some reason, my internet is giving me problems, so I just signed in and it's still kicking me out. All right, it is 7:01, and I'm convening the October meeting of the Energy Environment Advisory Committee. First up is the public forum. Are there any members of the public present who would like to say something? You're good? You're set? Okay. Seeing none. Acceptance of minutes. Did everybody get the minutes that Joe sent out? Not only as chair do I not vote unless there's a tie, but as an absent person last time around, I cannot vote on the minutes. So do I have a motion to adopt the minutes? Thank you. Ruth? And Bill seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
So Sarah did send a minor typo to correct it.
It was like a grammatical thing, so maybe as amended.
Okay. Does the person making the initial motion amend her motion to say adopting the minutes as amended?
Adopting the minutes as amended.
Okay. And the
Please.
second? All right. Let the record show that the motion is to adopt the minutes as amended. I apologize. I didn't see the back and forth on changing.
There wasn't any.
Oh,
Or
okay.
it was
It was
just
barely noteworthy. I wasn't sure.
Okay.
if
No
it was
worries.
protocol.
No worries. All right. Ongoing business. We have new members. What I'm thinking, and anyone just shout out if you think differently, is that we just start at the end and just do the full list of introductions so that everybody gets everybody again. I know that takes a couple extra minutes, but do people feel good about that? All right. Joe, have at it.
Joe Lamattina, I'm the town council representative.
And our honorable secretary.
And, oh, yeah. Yeah.
Emily Jones. I've been on the committee for like 2 months.
And our honorable vice chair.
Oh, yeah.
They're so humble, these people.
Julie Tyson, the Conservation Commission representative.
Okay. Welcome, Julie. Ellen Reed, chair.
Kara Stinson. I'm new as well. And not honorable anything. But
You're very honorable. You're honorable fellow motorcyclist and glove gifter.
Yes, yes.
Bill Rayleigh, Newmarket resident, member of the committee.
Patrick Reynolds, Planning Board.
Ruth Kane, member of the committee.
Thank you. So Julie and Patrick are our new members. Very excited. All right. So, and my apologies for sending this out super late. As I said in my email, it's been a really hard week with my husband being hospitalized. So some of these may not reflect the changes that were in the minutes. But what I have next is, I have button up. That wasn't supposed to be button up. That was supposed to be the PSA. Was there any discussion or movement on the PSA? So for our new members, the idea is that the proper protocol for recycling and composting according to the town, we were hoping that the Sustainability Club at the high school would help produce a little video PSA that we could push on our website, social media, etc. Is a fun way to educate people on what to do and help increase the amount of recycling and composting that happens. Did something happen last time? Can someone update me, please?
No, other than I don't know if it was last time, we have a contact at the high school.
Okay.
Other than that, no.
No worries. I'm sorry, I skipped over it. No, it's fine. Button up was already buttoned up last time. So, the idea so this was part of a larger idea that we had of addressing and seeing if we could maximize our waste management in town. And so some ideas were floated, like perhaps touring recycling facilities, and I had some experts willing to come in from Beyond Plastic to say tell us what we could do on the town level. There's very little that we frequently can do in New Hampshire on the town level, as we are a Dillon's Rule state, but the thought is, I had the thought, and I would very much welcome feedback on this notion, but I spoke with a couple members after the last meeting, and the thought was it felt that we were maybe trying to do too much at once, and so should we not prioritize? Because what we're really mostly working on is on our energy plan, and should we prioritize, at least for the time being, the master energy plan and the energy aggregation plan, and then kind of just wait maybe a few months on tackling waste management. That is just a thought based on the conversations I had after the last meeting. If anyone's like, we really need to do waste management now, I'm happy to steam ahead, but just kind of putting it out there for discussion.
I agree. I think between the energy plan, the aggregation plan, the master plan, and setting up the goals, that's more than enough to.
Yeah, it's got to be done as quickly as possible, I agree.
Okay. And energy does seem to be the more time-sensitive thing, because we'll update our new members, but we're in the middle of a couple of big energy transitions in terms of planning for the future right now. So if everybody's good, I don't think we need necessarily a vote. We were originally supposed to have the Beyond Plastics and another Portsmouth waste advocate coming to present to us today, but with Josh coming and helping us with our master plan, I asked if they didn't mind rescheduling. Oh, apologies, but there is something I forgot to put on the agenda, and I don't know where is a good place to insert this, so I'll just say it now. Since I'm talking about rescheduling people, it occurred to me that the next meeting, the November meeting, is the day before Thanksgiving. And I didn't know if people wanted to hold it then. There is also 5 Wednesdays in November this year. So I think, in theory, I don't think the town council meets on the 5th Wednesday when there are 5 Wednesdays. Am I right?
I want to say that that's right. If I can figure out how to get my calendar, I'll tell you.
So the idea is that maybe, I'm just simply putting it out there again, spitballing. Anybody feel free to weigh in one way or the other, but would people prefer to meet on Wednesday the 30th? That's 6 days after Thanksgiving, rather than Wednesday right before Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
okay. That was, yeah, so what I'll tell the people I had lined up for the waste stuff is that we're gonna wait a few months, but for other people that would consult us on energy stuff, that will be, I think we might need an actual vote on this one though, you guys, so if anybody, Joe, did you confirm that yet, or is it?
Yeah, there's no
You're-
meeting.
okay. All right,
Can I make a motion that we move our meeting to November 30th?
a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, so Sarah moved and Patrick seconded.
Can I quickly say, Ellen, maybe instead of the recycling people and waste management, patch them into the contact at the high school, so that if that group goes, since that's the focus of their attention and they're gonna be working on the PSA, it might be a valuable contact to them.
So are they already working on the PSA, or I thought?
No.
No, I thought the students were.
Oh, they may be, I'm
I have
not
no
aware
idea.
of that.
Okay, if they are working on the PSA, are they just going off the website recommendations? Because I
I
spoke,
guess we don't know.
We just don't
assumed
know.
that they
Okay.
were working on it.
are we just gonna whatever they do, and we'll just kind of focus on energy for the next few months, and then maybe we'll
Yeah.
circle back around with the sustainability club when we're ready to address waste. Does that sound?
Sounds good.
So,
All right, we didn't take a vote on the move to the 30th. So Sarah motion, Patrick seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, so we are meeting November 30th at 7 p.m. in this room. Okay, I'm so sorry for inserting that very randomly, but I'm glad I remembered. All right. So this moves us into our new business. So as Joe has most assiduously worked on and has presented to us in the past, the two kind of ideas, and I'm kind of saying this for the background for the people present that are new. two ideas are converging. So as of July, after several years of working on it, Newmarket became the 7th town to adopt a renewable energy commitment, committing us to 100% renewable energy by 2030 for the electric grid and 2050 for fuels. So it falls to us to kind of guide them and provide a comprehensive, and the language says a comprehensive or systematic plan to get to those goals. We have a lot of good starting points for that, and we'll get into that work in a second. The other piece of this is that, so we need this comprehensive energy plan, but also there is really scant mention of an energy plan. It's mentioned in our master plan, right? But it's referenced, but it doesn't exist, right? It's just some basic, very scant mention. So the idea is that we need this master energy plan that's going to move us to renewable for electric grid by 2030, and need that to be part of the overall master plan. We're an advisory committee only, so the idea is we'll formulate a comprehensive master plan and suggest to the town council that they adopt it. We may, to a point that Joe's raised, there may be two levels of this plan, kind of like the broader, bigger version that goes in the master plan that doesn't get into details, and then like the more detailed, and we might send recommendations as we work on that to the town council to adopt certain things, but we don't have any of those details yet. Does anybody want to?
Well, so by RSA, the master plan is the sole jurisdiction of the planning board. So I recommended at the last meeting that it would be good if this committee came up with some general recommendations, but I wouldn't spend a lot of time on that, since that is what the planning board does.
Sure.
So certainly this group could come out with some good recommendations. It could talk about, I think, how the EAP and a master plan, or the energy part of the master plan, could come together and make recommendations about that. And I think that would be helpful to then, bring that to the planning board and say, here's what we found and here's what we're looking at. But I mean, I wouldn't spend time actually writing an energy plan for the master plan, since that's, again, not under the jurisdiction of this committee.
So to be very clear, the EAP, and that's something I haven't even brought up yet, is an entirely separate plan. So there are three plans we're talking about. There's a mention to an energy plan in the master plan, which is something that Joe had brought up and brought to our attention. Before we even considered that, though, we had a mandate in the resolution to formulate an energy plan, not an master energy plan, but just an energy plan for 2030 and 2050. And then kind of almost a subset of that is the EAP, the energy aggregation plan. I guess Patrick was here last time, but you weren't. So part of our move to 100% renewable energy is our membership in, and I'm so sorry for dominating, I'm just kind of trying to bring everybody up to speed. Community Power Coalition, which is a network of towns in New Hampshire that have formed a nonprofit to basically act as an energy aggregator and a competitor to Eversource, more or less. So the idea is this is all nonprofit. We work with them. They basically give us the expertise that we need as a town to source our energy the way we want to. We basically tell them exactly how much renewable, what kind of renewable, what prices we're looking for, all of that. And when our demands are met and they are able to meet that, our agreement is to then switch over to this community power, Newmarket community power. And the default, not the only option, but the default for energy consumers in Newmarket would be Newmarket community power. They could always switch back to Eversource if they wanted to, but that's the general gist of community power. Part of that partnership, as our role as a member town in this organization, is to form what's called an EAP, an energy aggregation plan. And it has to have a couple of public hearings and go before the town council and the whole thing. So we're in the about 1/3 of the way through that process, as I understand it. So 3 plans. The point is that we still need that comprehensive energy plan that the resolution calls for. Whether or not parts of that the planning board and town council choose to adopt into the master plan or not is kind of, we can make the recommendation, but it's kind of out of our hands once we make a recommendation, whether or not. But we do still have to come up with an energy plan.
It's helpful to learn that this RSA and that the master plan is under your jurisdiction, because it does inform maybe how much effort or just how nitpicky we get about the language and how we communicate with your group to share
Right.
ideas. So I'm glad to learn that.
Yeah, sure.
I would just say, I think if you see what we have, okay, again, we are an advisory committee, as Ellen says, but I think if you look at what we have, what we're advising the planning board to do is take a look at what we've come up with for the energy chapter of the master plan. And you guys can adopt it if you want, or do whatever you want, I guess, you're the owner of it. But I think once you see it, I don't think there's anything in there that you're going to disagree with.
And I would just like to put out there that I feel it's super important to all work towards the goal of just improving Newmarket. I think we're all kind of have the same desires in our heart, and it shouldn't be about territory and all of that. So certainly I know that wasn't at all the intention of anybody on this committee to cut out the planning board.
No, I mean
Those
I
planning
don't-
board people.
I don't think that was intention. I think it's. I didn't even know that until I got on the planning board that, that there's actually a state law about community master plans that lays out how a master plan is created and who creates it and all of that. So, yeah, it's totally an educational process for everybody.
To that end, is there a timeline that you follow and that we should be aware of, so that when we're working on ours, there are natural touch points with when we feed you recommendations or show you our draft or something, so that we're working together
Right.
and collaboratively?
So my understanding is it's usually on a 5 to 10 year time period when the master plan for the community is rewritten. So it is coming up, but it's probably not something that the planning board is going to undertake until we're well into 2023.
So we're in year, what, 4?
Yeah, I think it's actually we're in year 6 or so.
It's voted on by the people, right? The plan, once it's suggested and goes through the council.
I think I know it goes to the
Municipal
council. I'm not
election.
sure if it's then part of the town meeting or not.
Well, I
I'm not-
remember 8 years ago where we had extensive, it wasn't the master plan, but extensive overhaul to our charter. So I don't know if it's similar to the state where we have an automatic, do you want a constitutional convention question
Right, yeah.
every 10 years? Do we also have to do this?
I don't know the answer to that.
But at any rate, we still have to create, in time is of the essence for us, both the EAP and the general energy plan for Newmarket to submit to the town council. From what I understand, any concept of a recommendation of a master energy plan to be adopted into the master plan is very broad, and like Joe said, I don't think that you'd have any problem with it, but it's not, again, it's just, it's kind of almost the Cliff's Notes of what we're actually working on. So if we submit to you the Cliff's Notes of what we're working on, you can adopt it, not adopt it, whatever, but we'll just keep going with our business. So.
Again, if I could say, if you take a look at what we've got, I don't think you're going to have any disagreements with it. And it's basically, this is what the advisory committee is submitting to the planning board for them to consider adopting for the master plan. Okay?
And I think that's great that there'll be something coming out of this committee that will be helpful.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about
And you
that.
make it earlier than you start working on the master plan, but now, that's almost never happens with me to get something in early.
Yeah.
And I will say, it was done 2015, and there's a lot of references to 2025. This is our vision for 2025.
Yeah.
Okay,
It sounded so
and-
far away.
Right. Well, that's interesting because that
That's
means it's a 10-year plan, right? Like our transportation plan and everything else is a 10-year plan. So that means that it has to be inclusive of our 10-year or 2030 goals, right? Because that's within 10 years. So, all right. Is there any more conversation on the idea of master energy plan? I don't know how to we need names. So the master energy plan is MEP. EAP is, right, what do I do for just the resolution energy plan? REP?
Resolution energy plan?
Resolution energy plan, okay. MEP, REP, and EAP.
Do I have to write this down?
Yes, you do, Joe, please. Put it in the minutes.
All right,
Spell it out.
master energy plan, resolution energy plan, and energy aggregation plan. Okay.
A little better.
Any other?
Electric aggregation.
I'm sorry, electric aggregation. I apologize.
I'm sorry, so we have the energy aggregation plan, the resolution energy plan.
And the EAP.
But it counts, yeah.
Well, the EAP is the energy aggregation plan, EAP.
EAP is
Electric
electric
aggregation.
aggregation
Sorry,
plan.
electric.
Yes.
Oh.
Bill is very good to
You got
remind
two
me
A-
it's
you can't have
electric.
two AEPs, EAP.
No. It's the one we do with CPC is electric aggregation.
Well,
There
if it
is
wasn't
no
sitting right
energy.
in front of me, I never would have remembered.
There is no energy aggregation plan.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But that actually brings up a really good point in why the EAP is only a small subset of the REP.
That
Follow
does
me?
help. Yes,
Because
that helps.
energy is bigger than electricity.
Yeah.
The resolution energy plan will be inclusive of things like the things that Josh is going to help us with today, efficiency measures, perhaps fuel issues, because we still have that 2050 goal for fuels as well, which is kind of, I think, more difficult, more nebulous to tackle than the electric. So anyway,
That hierarchy helps.
Okay.
I'm thinking of you, Emily, wanting visuals. Are you
I'm
making
yeah,
literally
sketch?
drawing
EAP,
it out.
me and Emily are two peas in a pod like this, totally
Good.
like the chart.
Hope you.
So EAP
We need
is
a
part
graphic.
of the REP, and the REP is the detailed version of the master energy plan, which may or may not be adopted and is totally out of our hands.
We're with you. All right.
We'd be like, here you guys, this is what we're thinking, and then we walk away.
She's writing it down. So,
She's sketching a diagram,
right.
a flow chart. I found a new flow chart maker program online. It's fantastic. Okay. So having said all that and getting our minds around the structure of everything, I would like to turn it over to Josh of Clean Energy New Hampshire, who is going to help guide us through the idea of making an energy plan. So, and it's kind of two-pronged now because there's the kind of big 30,000 foot view that may or may not be adopted as part of a master plan, and then a more detailed, comprehensive version.
Okay, we can do that. So, with the help of Joe, he's added things to what was the
Can you make that zoom in a little bigger?
yeah.
Henry, we all loved him when he figured out how to zoom the last time.
Game changer.
So, can I say something first?
Yeah.
Okay. So this first part here really is a recommendation to add additions to the guiding principles or the vision. At the very beginning of the master plan, there's a vision. This is some stuff that we would like them to potentially add to the vision portion or completely replace the vision portion, and it does have a section related to energy.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Joe.
And I'm just going to say, so this first part here, what I call the vision for the future section of it's the guiding principles for the vision of the master plan. Okay.
Just a technicality, and I don't know if people see it the same way I do. And for our new people, the electric aggregation committee is us,
Mhm.
but is us in our role as members of Community Power Coalition New Hampshire. So when we are acting as a committee working with CPC&H, we are the EAC. I know there's so many letters going on, like a ridiculous amount of letters. We are the EAC when we are working with them on community power. When we're not, we are the EE, the energy environment. So are we really recommending a recommended master energy plan as EAC or as the energy and environment?
I would say it's the energy environment.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
The EAC is really strictly for community
CPC,
power.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you want to replace that with this?
Yes. So in reviewing the Newmarket, I'm sorry, if I'm not reading it, if people are talking, I can't read. Town policies and master plan, the Energy Environment Advisory Committee found the documents to be lacking in energy policies and planning. The Energy Environment Advisory Committee presents the following language for consideration by the Newmarket Planning Board and Town Council. See, we already were including you. In future processes to modify the master plan and potentially add an energy chapter. I feel that that's totally appropriate and good.
One down.
One down.
30 to go.
Okay.
So Josh, do you want to like walk? I don't know if Joe had more.
So, no,
Yeah, most of this is Joe because he laid this out in a way that is gonna work for walking through everything. We can change everything around if you want to, but he laid it out the way that I was going to lay it out based on
Rye.
based on Rye.
Great.
just to be clear, this is all ripped off from either Rye or Lebanon. This is not Joe Lamatino.
Okay.
I changed Lebanon or whatever to Newmarket.
All the great
I put a
authors
few stuff here and
steal.
there, but by and large, it's a
Yeah,
rip-off, okay?
it's wonderful. No sense reinventing the wheel.
Don't charge me with pleasure, so.
As a cornerstone for developing and maintaining a master plan for the town of Newmarket, New Hampshire, the Newmarket Town Council and Newmarket Planning Board have adopted the following. So this is all recommended, actually. Following principles to serve as guidelines for master planning. The following principles address 7 essential areas that need to be considered for a master plan to make a positive difference in our community. Is that really annoying to people that I'm reading that out loud? It helps me.
I prefer that some
Okay, it
And
helps
we're
me
all
rather
doing
than
the
all
same
of us
thing at
just
the same
pretend we're
time.
reading it, but we're really just talking, and so nobody's reading it.
Yeah. Keep going.
Can you see that? That's good.
So principle 1 is community access and engagement. Good master planning requires, I feel like we should be like in a school where we each take turns.
You know, you go.
Good master planning requires that it welcomes the public's participation and honors the public trust. Cornerstones of public trust include effective outreach, communication, accountability, and transparency. Encouraging broad, inclusive collaboration in master planning recognizes that all levels of government, together with the nonprofit and private sectors, have a stake in creating and implementing mutually beneficial policies. Improving public access to information and processes can make policies and plans more accountable, transparent, fair, and responsive to community needs. At the same time, formatting. Because state and federal government decisions affect our community, we can effectively advocate our interests by advancing our participation at those levels. Sounds like good governance to me. All right? Thoughts?
Yeah,
Before we keep going, can I ask, are we gonna read this whole document
I
today
mean,
as a group? Because it just
how long
there's
is
a
it?
little scroller thing on the side, and it looks like
It looks a long, it looks long, it looks very
It's
long.
I was wondering if
11
that's
pages.
the best use of our time.
11 pages.
Okay, I didn't know how long it was.
Yeah.
Probably because I can't
I
even
mean,
see the scroller
we
thing.
can go to the because these are generals.
Okay.
So if,
Well, let's just see the
Yeah.
titles of these.
okay.
And what was number 2? Sense of place. And then number environmental responsibility, energy efficiency, intelligent coordinated development and transportation. Oh, I like that one. Economic vitality, okay. Fiscal responsibility and regional partnerships. Okay.
Okay, and this is the energy section, which is about 6. I labeled them as 6 major sections with a couple subsections.
So this section kind of just says that the legislature has enabled towns to create an energy chapter in their master plan.
Mhm.
Okay. The vision 2.0 down here. I mean, that's just referencing RSA, so that's not anything we can, we could lie about what the RSA says, but I don't think it would help us.
Yeah.
Vision, the use of energy influences many facets of life in Newmarket today. Energy can affect multiple, municipal, my eyes are terrible, and operations influence job growth in the local economy, yada, yada, overall vision. I'm sorry, I don't mean to yada, yada over your stuff, Joe. I'm just trying to go faster.
Yeah, no, we don't. Reward.
Semi-rural character, okay. 21st century technology, environmentally progressive strategies, local business opportunities. Our policies will play a significant role in achieving this vision. Benefit greatly by the town becoming more energy secure and sustainable community. Are critical. Okay. Sounds. Anybody have any?
So I just added a little bit at the bottom. If you go down a little bit.
Under 3.0?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought we were at the.
Energy objectives for the town of Newmarket. This should be the interesting piece. Increase the understanding of current energy consumption. So that's what you were talking about earlier today with Joe, and we were on a planning thing with, is that part of this is that we do have to get not just our current usage for the town to really, oh my God, why am I like, Peter did a fantastic job getting a lot of that information from Eversource. which we're entitled to, but Eversource bought us on. So getting that information for how the town of Newmarket actually does use energy currently, how it's used energy in the past, and projections for the future is really important for, obviously, forming a plan.
At the end of the meeting, I'll fill everybody in on some stuff that's going on
Oh.
with CPC.
Oh, fantastic.
Oops. Sorry about that.
It's okay, it gives me time to read. All right, you can scroll.
So
That's what you added. In support of this objective, we passed the resolution. Okay, and then 3.1 energy profile. And so this is is this the data that is actually from ours? Oh, thank you so much, Joe, for compiling that, because if you had asked me to find that, I know we had it somewhere in some email, but I had no idea where. So as you can see, there are obviously far more residential accounts than commercial accounts in the residential uses. Although there are, what is that, seven times the number of residential customers. They do 3 times these. Is it 7? No, yeah, 7-ish. I don't know.
The ratios aren't the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ratios aren't the same. Yes, that's my point.
What's the population of Newmarket?
It's about 10,000.
10,000.
I
And so okay, that's households.
But what's interesting about that is, so for the residential, we only have about 1,700 single-family housing units
I
in
wondered.
Newmarket.
Right.
So that means that there's
17.
3,100 sort of rental units.
A lot of those are probably Cherry Hill. That's where I live. There's
And
so
so
Cherry
there's-
Hill's massive.
You
I know
those
Newmarket has
are
a disproportionate.
one building that could have, lots of different energy. That's why the number seems so high,
Yeah.
because
So these are as of July 2020. I'll fill you in that CPC is asking all the communities to submit requests to the public service and their energy suppliers to get updated information. When that'll happen, I don't know,
But in theory, having so many multifamily homes and, however you want to put it, I mean, they in theory can be a lot more energy efficient, I think, right?
Yeah.
You're insulating each other.
Is there any value to this document to sort of footnoting that out, breaking out who the resident, or is that just getting in
It
the
is.
weeds? Oh, it is. I'm sorry, Joe.
Is it down here or is it here?
Well, what I asked for Josh to do, and I'm very grateful if he does this, is to create a shared Google Doc of this, and where he makes the changes, but everybody is allowed to comment so that we don't have anybody changing, each other's stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like we can make a comment there. It doesn't have to be like inserted in the whole thing, but we can make a comment there to see if later we want to insert it. That there's potential here in terms of energy efficiency. Thank you so much. Are we ready to go to 3.2, energy profile of municipal facilities? And we have done some of those already, the lighting and the,
so we don't, I don't know where this information exists, but that's, I said right here, the comment that I made is that we need to get this information to insert here.
Mhm.
You can
I
also
would guess the school also has a big energy footprint between the high school and elementary school.
That's one of the things I think we need to do is, as part of the plan, is to get a listing of all the facilities and, then get the information for those facilities. Yeah, there's the elementary school, there's the junior, senior high school,
Yep.
the town hall, there's all the different facilities.
Library.
so, I forget what I was going to say because I waved it in. Oh, that's what one of the things Josh can help us with is that we've already taken some measures as a town, changing our lighting. I think we did some insulating and stuff like that. So we can list what we've already done, but also what else we need to do.
Yes. Yeah, and you can also do like municipal aggregation, like not aggregation, but municipal, what you've done over time based on your usage. You can get that from the utilities and then bring that and use it in Portfolio Manager, which is an Energy Star thing, and then have them project things for you. That's all free.
So we can estimate how much energy we've already saved from the measures that we've done,
Yes.
as well as the energy we will save if we do X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
That's nice.
Yeah, you
That's always nice to
you can
tell that
request it from
story.
the utilities. They'll provide you with either a login or the actual documents, and then you can add that to it. I have a link later in the thing for it.
Thank you so much.
Things like that are more valuable because then it tells the story. It isn't just like a numbers dump,
Right.
you know?
Mhm.
It's
To see that
not,
things
it's
are
not a trust
worthwhile.
us, keep doing this, trust
Yeah,
us. There's
yeah.
actual,
A return.
yeah. If people are ready to move on, 4.0, energy efficiency and conservation, yay. Energy efficiency and conservation focuses on one main objective, reducing overall energy consumption across all sectors, thus reducing energy costs and environmental pollutants. Newmarket can achieve reductions in energy consumption by addressing the following. Audits, transportation systems, street and outdoor lighting. We did LEDs, didn't we? All of our buildings and streetlights are LED.
I think they are now.
Municipal operations such as water and sewer, providing access to clean and renewable fuel choices.
Yeah.
Community awareness and participation. I would say there's even more that we can do, like with the stuff we're doing with CPC and everything. So, and we talked about incentivizing other people to,
Well, this is exactly what I want to do. What
Yeah.
what
Well-
what can we put in here? What do you see?
Well, this is just energy efficiency and conservation, so it's
Oh,
not.
okay.
It's not aggregation.
I see.
So this is just using what you're using currently and using less of it. So
Makes sense.
Any-
Different category.
Yeah, it's a different category. Sorry for missing that.
problem.
So is there incentivizing programs listed in there anywhere?
not on here.
So I think that's something we can consider is how do we incentivize people to switching to more efficient practices and technologies?
Maybe even broad, like education and incentivization.
Is that covered by the last bullet there?
Oh.
Community awareness and participation?
The
Or
education is,
do
yeah.
you just want
That's
to
so that's why it's a sub
expand
point.
up- you
Yeah.
wanna expand upon that then?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Any other comments?
Well, you certainly can make the suggestion. I have no idea what the planning board stance would be on it, or I don't. But you can make the suggestion that there are code changes you can make to when you're building new buildings that you could require electric heat pumps. You could require a certain R level with the insulation. There are other communities that have done that. It's not an unheard of thing. It does tend, in some cases, to make the upfront cost of construction higher. But it's something that you could certainly throw it out there. I don't think it's inappropriate to at least raise it and say,
Yeah, I like that.
should we have a tougher building code around energy efficiency?
Could we add a bullet in here, something to the
Yeah.
effect that
Yeah.
says, adopt ordinances that require efficient?
Or a building code,
Building
yeah. I
code,
mean,
yeah.
again, I'm not saying that it'll necessarily pass,
Better building
but
codes.
I
But-
think that you would have a very hard time adopting a new building code in New Hampshire.
But,
Oh, we do?
But Patrick's saying that other towns have done it. At
I don't
the
know if New
town
Hampshire
level.
towns have done it. You're
Oh.
saying that it's really restrictive as far as the RSA goes, as far as changing building codes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think changing building codes can be a good thing,
It
but we
can
need
be a
to be
good
very careful
Yes.
about what we recommend. You just happen to throw out hot water heat
Can I
pumps, which I think are probably not as good as advertised. Need to have a discussion based on the laws of thermodynamics with somebody about that. But before we go, requiring things that are popular but not necessarily right, we got to look into them. But I think certainly more efficient lighting and photovoltaic systems and programmable thermostats, nobody can argue with that kind of thing. But requiring specific kinds of
Well,
equipment,
and
we gotta look into.
Josh may be right. It may be too difficult with the regulatory environment in New Hampshire anyway.
Well.
Yeah. But
It's
can,
almost
simple
like
things.
you should, it would behoove if one of us were a legislator that could put in an RSA to change this.
I know, anybody
Does
know
anybody
it?
know it? Like, so I have 13 bills in this year, and I wouldn't be doing anything this year, but, I mean, this would be something I would talk to CE and H and CPC and H and all these other people and see what we want to allow and what we think might pass. But I can certainly investigate putting in a
I mean,
bill.
the good news on heat pumps is actually the last 3 or 4 larger buildings that have come before us, they are installing heat pumps. So it's kind of a proven technology at this point. So we're not even asking, and people are doing it because they realize it's
It'll
more
pay for
efficient.
itself.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
talking about heat pump for heating and cooling the house?
Yes.
Not hot water. Oh, yeah.
Yep,
Sure,
yep.
Well, and I think the point really isn't the specific technology. The point is, can we look into requiring better efficiency standards out of our building code? And so it's aligned now. It's in there for us to continue to talk about and research, and we can move on.
I think that's good at a general level.
Yeah,
You
just-
obviously can't get into the
Right. And I mean, we're going to revisit this several times again, so like we can refine that and see what exactly how we want to word it. But potential energy efficiencies. Oh, it's just an example
So
of.
this is stuff that I added that's
Okay.
from real life within the last year or so.
And this is from the wastewater system, the energy that they were using. They saved 16%. Okay, we can
They-
scroll.
Wastewater systems and water pump systems are a huge energy suck. So if you make those more efficient, it can really help with town energy usage.
Mm-hmm.
Think of
Excellent.
having those electric pumps going all the time and how inefficient those can be with a wastewater treatment plant. Same thing. So you've got pumps going all the time. Town's paying for it.
So as a town, because of the measures they took, we're saving $8,000 annually on the energy just at the wastewater facility.
Right.
Great. Nice to have
Okay.
an
Yeah,
example.
we've also seen a lot of towns that do solar on those facilities to do the heating and stuff to make sure they don't freeze in the winter, and that helps a lot with that as well. And you can get some grants towards that now through the IRA, but also through other programs that let you get funding.
Again, this is just an example of one of those bullet points that said to audit and update our town infrastructure. Long-term planning so we're to 5.0 now. Are we, we're close to the end. The scroller thing. Long-term planning for energy security and sustainability. Sustainability is defined there. Environment is important, it says.
Yeah, this is kind of a description of of the why, and then an explanation of different things that can be used to do this.
So performance-based standards and building code. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Will ensure that all new buildings are constructed to a minimum efficiency level, for example, LEED or Energy Star. Construction standards can ensure energy efficiency, use of products that provide long-term durability, and use of sustainable and recycled materials. Site selection can focus preferentially on previously developed land to conserve historical open space. Site design techniques, my eyes are really bad, that take advantage of sun exposure, differences in microclimate, yes, landscaping, reduced development's energy demand, and overall energy consumption. There's so many poorly, in my opinion, I'm like a design geek, and there's so many poorly designed buildings. Like, why is that window there? It makes no sense. Anyway, energy efficient planning principles and provisions to allow for renewable energy generation can be implemented through subdivision and site plan review regulations, zoning ordinances, and building codes.
Okay, let's go on to recommendations, and I added some on here based on our talk earlier and some other things that I was thinking about.
So this whole section to me is what we gotta do.
Okay.
Yeah, this is we want to do this stuff based on the rest of the things we just laid out and
Yeah.
the reasons why. And
Everything
this
else
is-
was prequel.
Yeah, and this is how most of these chapters are. If you look at I sent out and can distribute a list that we have. That's a list of different energy chapters. They all kind of go like this, and it's essentially making the case for it, and this is why we're doing it.
So the way I was thinking about this, and I told Josh and Joe this already, was that largely, and like I'm just speaking contemporaneously right now, that the recommendations in my mind fall largely under 3 categories. One is essentially energy procurement. A large part of that is our role in CPC&H, specifically to reach our 2030 goal. For example, we might come up with an EAP that suggests that we move our renewable portfolio by 11% every year. So the first year of, right now, currently, it would be set at 22%. So after a year, it would be 33% and 44%. And that would, in theory, get us to 99%, 100% by 2030. So that is, that would fall under procurement, as well as anything else we did with CPC&H, like retrofitting our dam in town for hydroelectric. I understand that this is a thing that is done these days. Retrofitting dams, it's something that's been brought up to the town before. There's a significant water flow over that dam. I don't know exactly what it translates into for energy and how expensive it would be, but I understand that the new dam was kind of built in such a way that retrofitting it for hydroelectric might be easier, and they did that intentionally. So it's something we can talk with. Josh has a contact in hydroelectric, but also CPC&H. The idea is that they will have experts that can consult with us on this. So all of these would fall under energy procurement. Then there is energy efficiency, and there's a whole litany of projects that we can tackle. A lot of the ones that are here on this list are efficiency, like programmable thermostats, lighting, etc. And then there's under procurement, this is the other piece, and this is where we're probably, if we ever get there, are going to want to work really closely with the planning board, and that's more incentivizing people. So we're providing community power, ideally, but then how do we incentivize people to make their own power at home? Largely photovoltaic systems, but perhaps some people do wind turbines, and some people even have small hydroelectric, as I understand it. And how do we incentivize them? We've talked about a potential recommendation for a tax incentive in the past. Those kinds of details might be added here as things we're recommending. So not so much in the master energy plan, mind you, but in the master plan, we might say something like, we would like to incentivize residents. But in the REP, the resolution energy plan, we might make very, very specific recommendations to the town. So those are the kind of the three buckets I was thinking that these recommendations fall in, but if there's other buckets or it needs to be structured differently, I'm happy to. The list could get quite long. I feel like that's just the beginning of a list.
I don't feel great about this section. I don't know how, but I don't know what to do.
Well, that's what I'm saying is I think we can, if you scroll back up a little bit, I think that we can put those as sub-points under other points, starting with energy procurement. And then I would talk about CPC&H in our renewable portfolio. I would talk about incentivizing energy, residential energy production. And then in another heading, the efficiency stuff and incentivizing efficiency stuff. And so that structuring it like that, that's more what and then also under efficiency comes transportation. So that's kind of like a pretty big bucket in and of itself, even though it's under efficiency. Transportation is a big thing to tackle.
Mm-hmm.
I like your suggestion from a design perspective of having broader categories and then pegging these under.
I feel this is like an outline thing. We're going to have a pretty extensive outline, traditional Roman outline or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I mean, you can have I guess categories and then different things under each category for what you want to do.
Even under energy procurement, there's electric, but then we are going to have to tackle the idea of fuels.
Yes.
So
yeah, you're still going to be buying fuel for a long time. So
right. Well, we have a goal to hit too.
Yeah.
And I don't even that's going to be a big conversation, right? Transportation fuels and heating fuels both are very complicated things, and the goal of 2050 is so far out that both of those industries will look probably pretty different in 20 years, right? Well, that's 30 years. My math is bad. In 30 years, cars, I suspect, will all be electric. And heating, I don't know. Probably not burning things, though.
So, Joe, to address your comment, I noticed it in the notes that you sent that needs more details and so on. So, and I think that under recommendations, all of those, nobody can argue with the things in that top list. But then when it goes down to establishment of short and long-term community goals, that is maybe not realistic until we explain how to do it.
Exactly the comment I wrote,
Yes.
Just scroll down a
Beside
bit,
you, it
Josh,
said
so we can see the 7.0
objectives have to be
section.
achieved, you know, let's
Thank you.
come up with objectives that are achievable.
Yeah. So
And
I-
how we can achieve them within the time.
Yes,
frames.
I agree with that, is what I'm saying.
But, yeah, I agree, this whole section, I don't, you know, I just threw everything out there and brain dump and, okay, what can we use? But I kinda like Ellen's idea, if we have like major categories, like energy procurement, A, B, C, D, E,
Yeah.
energy efficiencies, A, B, C, I mean, that's a good start.
Yeah.
Is this my homework for the month?
Well, is
I
that-
can take a running stab at it, but those were mixed analogies. But so are you gonna have like a shared Google Doc, and I can probably just like,
Yeah, this is it.
yeah, okay, great. Oh, I see all the
Yeah,
comments. So I'll
I
just,
sent it to you and Joe.
okay, I'll share it with everybody.
Are there, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Joe.
Again, though, I know we want to do pie in the sky, or some might want to do pie in the sky. They got to be achievable, right? Realistic and achievable.
Well, I don't think anybody is going to suggest anything that they don't think is achievable. I think the question is how hard are we willing to work as a town? You know, like a lot of things can be achievable, but it's, you know, how expensive is it going to be? How much manpower is it going to take? Those types of things. And I think our role is to encourage the town to move towards a more sustainable future, and that might require a little bit more pushing than maybe everybody's comfortable with, but it's like you get, you know, you don't always get everything you negotiate for, so you have to kind of push a little bit harder than,
Yeah, being
Yeah.
aspirational.
yeah, a bit aspirational.
Yeah, so I threw in here a couple different types of property tax exemptions that you can do. I'm not sure which ones you have already established, but so there's just a property tax exemption for renewable energy projects. There's the different RSAs on here that allow for different ones. So you have solar, wind, and wood heating systems on here. So you can have a property tax exemption for all three of those.
Are there any specific restrictions on the type of property tax exemption, or is it just do what you want with tax exemptions in those categories?
Each RSA determines what you can do. I think it's pretty broad.
Okay.
I think we have the solar exemption right now, so if you put solar panels on your home, they don't tax you for that additional
The value of the
value
house.
that you've
Yeah.
added to the house, so that's in place now.
1 year, right?
Yeah, and what we had discussed before, and I don't know how much you all discussed last meeting, was the fact that that's, you know, while that's nice, that's not really incentivizing. All that does is give them the
Not
status
penalize.
quo. It doesn't penalize them, exactly. And so what we were asking ourselves, well, how do we want to incentivize, and how do we want to do that in a way that is not that onerous to the town? And so the thought was, while maybe the wealthier half of the town, if they wanted solar panels, they already have access to solar panels. They can get solar panels. We don't really need to incentivize them. They have the ability. The lower half of the town, that is a completely unsaturated market because they just don't even think that they have access to it. So and they also, it's the added benefit of having a very small tax base compared to the upper half. So what if we incentivize them by giving them an additional tax exemption to help them cover the cost over a period of time, not all at once, cover the cost of their installed systems. That would make photovoltaic accessible to a whole community that didn't have access to it before, and at relatively low cost for the town, because the tax base on these homes that they would be, and you could put all kinds of restrictions on the assessment value, the income, all of those types of things could be restricted depending on what the revenue can bear.
Now, I don't know if this is part of Community Power Coalition, but once the town is involved in power purchasing, right, for the town residents, is there any way to also look at where we're getting the power, so that, in other words, if that could then be used to put those panels on people's roofs, that might be easier, I would say, than trying to work through the town to get taxes abated for people. I think that might be a little bit of a hard road, but if we could do it in a way where the power's flowing back to the town that the people are putting on their roofs, so that, because not every roof is ideal for solar panels in the town, but we are very far away from having all the panels that we should have deployed in the town. I keep meaning to do it, but the Department of Energy actually produces a report for every town in America now that tells you how many places in your town are ideal for putting solar. And it'll do it by street address. And then we could do a mailer to all of those people and say, hey, we have a plan in place where if you, agree to sell the power back to our community power coalition, there's some incentive there for them to put. I think it's an economic question as much as, I know it's great that it's an environmental situation, but I think we have to make it about economics as much as anything for people.
It can be, I think.
Because
well, especially for the people who can't afford it already.
Exactly, but just in general, there's a lot of people that's where you will get their buy-in. It's an economic issue for you. It's not about an environmental issue. It's how can we make your power bill go down, right? Your power bill is high. We can actually reduce it this way.
So the answer to your question is yes. With CPC&H is really exciting, and one of the things I was excited from the beginning was the fact that not only can we say, oh, we would like X% wind or X% solar or whatever, and then they buy what we want, but also we can also say, we want to turn our dam into hydroelectric, or we want to establish a solar array field, a solar farm in town, or we want to work with Durham to establish a joint solar farm. And part of that farm could be, because they already have provisions for net metering already in there, so any plan that we would be doing, we would be buying people's energy back from their existing solar panels. So part of that could be, instead of us buying the panels, we will basically help you buy your panels to put on your buildings and buy your energy from you. So that's all of those things. The CPC&H has just so many, it's very versatile. You have so many options with that. So that is definitely possible.
So I think those kinds of details would be really important to put in here. And if there's a way we could actually quantify even a close potential amount of solar power that we could be producing in this town if we deployed all of our available community plots, because you look at the landfill, like that's a bit of town land that's not going to be used for anything else. Many communities have put solar arrays on those.
Yeah.
We should have that in our plan, that we would recommend that. Right now, the IRA, I think it's up to 70% tax breaks for community solar projects like that.
That's a really exciting idea, because while our idea was to say, okay, we meet or exceed Eversource's renewable portfolio, and we meet or beat their price level, and that's when we go into it. Doing this actually, so we would still be selling energy at the same price as Eversource to residents. This means their energy bills will hit zero, essentially, because they would be making all of their own personal energy. So all of those savings immediately go to them, and then we'll buy back whatever excess energy they have. But essentially, that's talk about real energy savings. And of course, everybody's talking about needing to save energy right now. That's actual real energy savings for residents. You're going to give me basically a free or incredibly low cost energy or solar system? Sure, yeah.
Or even if you knew your energy bill was going to be at a fixed amount for the next 5 years while you're paying that off, because most people pay their energy bills. They've looked at that. A lot of people can't get solar arrays because they don't have good credit, but most people actually pay their electric bills because they don't want their electricity turned off. And if we based it on that alone, most people would qualify to get a loan to put a solar array on their house.
Right.
And their bill would be fixed then, because you agree to a payment. You're on a payment plan.
You're paying for
Whereas your electricity bill,
Right.
it goes up depending on, what happens with Eversource right now.
You're helping us pay for the panel. You're not paying for the actual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love
So
that lowers the entry.
Yeah.
You know, for people, like the credit issue, that's such a
Yeah.
barrier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's part of it, and it's, I mean, certainly this should happen, these are all great things. But there are details, for example, if you wanna, you have a house that's old and you wanna put solar panels on the roof, you've got to be sure that your roof is not gonna leak for the next 25 years, because once you have solar panels on it, you can't fix it.
Yeah, they,
So, which is why companies like Sunrun inspect the roof before they will put solar panels up there. So that would have to be part of it too. And that, if that is part of it, that's an even greater benefit for homeowners. They get to have a nice roof as well as a reduced electric bill. But as a town, we've got to consider factors like that, hidden, costs that we might not otherwise
Josh,
think of.
you had something?
oh no, you said it.
Part of my job is time management, and I don't do so well, but let's hurry up and finish this in the next just 2 minutes, and then we need to move on to our work as EAC
Yes.
on the EAP.
So the rest of this are just more things to go over under here. So just encouragement, providing information to the community, completing an audit of zoning ordinances, and I included up here. So this is the list of recommendations from the climate action plan, and so what that lists out. It's the document is linked right here. It's a very fully fleshed out document if you're looking into how to do this kind of stuff. Partially written by Chris Gogland, who is part of Clean Energy New Hampshire right now, who was at DES at the time this was written, but essentially lists out a plan to do this. This was written, sadly, in, I believe, 2008. And so lists out the 2025 levels and then the 2050 levels and how to get to both of them and, best practices of how to reach those goals. It's about, I think it's like a 50-page document of how to do this. And so these are the main pieces of it, though. So
Okay, those almost look like sub-buckets to me, like
yes.
the points that we went over before would fit
No,
under a lot of these.
That's exactly where most of these plans came from, are these 10 principles.
Okay.
So if you look at most of the plans, they'll cover these in some way. It's just going over, in general, how you should do this, what things you should look at, what things you should study, which areas you should hit first, things like that.
Okay, excellent.
So the planning is there. Towns are in process and are doing it. There's a lot of towns in New Hampshire that have done it, that have these plans. So you just have to figure out how Newmarket wants to do it. And there are towns that are way ahead that are, trying to do the final goals. You're already working on community power, so that's amazing. And then you can look at towns like, you keep tooting the same horn, but like Keene and Hanover are both very far ahead. They do have the money to do it, and they have been doing it for a while. But if you look at like where they started and how they've been going, they have followed the same track as every other town has been doing. They're just both at the point now where like Keene has a person who works on their energy stuff and is hired to do that now. And they've reached out to me and said, what's next? And we were kind of like, well, that's up to you now.
All
You've
right.
reached that point where we can't help you anymore because we haven't done the next couple projects. You're on to just building more renewables. So you reach a point where you just need to build more power.
Right. Good for them. I know. And pull their neighbors up and share with us what they would do differently, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
It'd
interested,
really sort of interesting to hear from them.
their Keene's planner is Mary Brunner, and she's great. We can connect you with her if you want. And then Hanover just got a new town manager who I used to work with, so he's been great. And they used to have
The previous Hanover town manager is the one that helped us adopt our resolution, convince
Yes.
the
Oh, yeah.
committee and through the committee, the council to adopt the resolution.
yeah, she's great. I'm blanking on her name.
Julie
Griffin.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, she's on our board now.
Oh,
so
good.
Still helping out, but trying to retire.
She said she was retired.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, you can look around to see if anyone has any recommendations, but all of these chapters are public. We have that list that I sent over that goes over a bunch of chapters by their population and what they've been doing. But there's also a list on, I think the New Hampshire Municipal Association has an older one on their site. And then I sent over one that has a couple examples of things to do and a couple towns that were similar in size to Newmarket. But again, size doesn't necessarily matter. It's more about like what your town is and what you want to do. Like, do you have the capability to do it? What do your selectmen want? Because you could have a town that has a lot of people and a lot of money, but the selectmen don't want it. It's not going to happen.
Right.
So it's about willingness to start moving.
Indeed. Is that the end of this document?
That is the end of this document.
Okay. So I hesitate to just ask you, but I'll ask you for information purposes only at this point.
Yeah.
Would you be able and willing to meet with us on the 30th?
I cannot because I'm actually leaving Clean Energy New Hampshire.
How dare
Yeah.
you?
But we have a new person coming on, Gina, who is going to be working with Community Power and doing this type of stuff all around the state.
I hope you're going on to amazing things.
Thank you. I'm moving to Ceres, if you know what that company is in Boston. So
Oh no. Siri?
Ceres, they do
Ceres.
Corporate sustainability consulting
good.
stuff.
Very nice.
Congratulations.
So trying different
So, and who's the person who might be able to meet with us?
Gina Blues.
Gina. Okay.
Yeah, so she's our circuit rider manager, and she's going to be taking over a lot of my roles, and hopefully we're going to get someone that's going to work specifically on the seacoast to do work with the towns like you, doing this in a way that we can really lift up towns by doing this work with you as opposed to just giving you information.
I also do have a couple other consultants who are willing to meet with us to kind of give us advice, but it would be really nice to have maybe something to show them first and get
Oh, yeah.
feedback. So Rob Werner, who is, of course, League of Conservation Voters, New Hampshire president, and as well as a former Concord City Councilor, got the resolution passed Concord. He is willing to kind of help us with our energy plan, as well as a couple of national experts who are willing to zoom in. That I've met through National Caucus of Environmental Legislators. So anyway, that sounds great. Put us in contact. As far as next steps on this, is the next step just for everybody to go through the shared document and kind of take your own run at it, or are there specific things that we want to assign out? Just
I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I feel like I personally need to read it more
Yeah.
closely, so I can't,
Yeah.
If an action item comes of that, or if you want to assign something in between, I'm open, but I just need to get into it a little bit more.
Right. Okay. Well, then you'll send the link in, or maybe you already did, and also the connection with Gina.
Gina, yes.
And I'll reach out to the other experts. But in the meantime, when we send out this link, everybody just take a look at it and put some comments in, and I will kind of do that outline structure and
Yeah.
see what people think.
Yeah, if it's any consolation, doing stuff like this always takes a couple revisions, and my favorite way of doing it is to figure out what I want and then just make a bulleted list and start adding things from the other document into it.
That's kind of how I do it.
There's
The
a lot.
first draft is always sacrificial. You just gotta
Yeah,
like
yeah.
like you said,
There's-
Joe, just a brain dump.
yeah.
Get it all
Dump
out
it
there,
all.
and then-
It's more of a brainstorming thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Of course.
Josh.
Thank you guys.
Really appreciate it.
And I'm
Sad
glad that you're moving forward.
Thank
Well,
you.
I'm glad you're moving forward, but not really. I selfishly want you to stay.
Hey, I might be moving out to the seacoast. I might be in the area.
Okay. All right. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Best wishes.
Does anyone have anything else to add before we put on our EAC hat? Okay. We'll put on our EAC hat. And I think I'm going to maybe hand it over to Joe. You had some community power stuff, announcements, and kind of let us know where we are with our energy aggregation, electric aggregation plan.
Okay, the other thing is, Community Power through Henry reached out to the town, basically said, they're working on two things.
Yes, no, I remembered the email now. I'm sorry.
Good night. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Josh. Good luck.
Bye-bye.
They made, one part it doesn't impact us, and basically, they're making some change to their bylaws, and they've asked the town to approve, changes to the bylaws, so you may see the town council mentioning community power or whatever, but it's basically just to allow them to make the changes to their bylaws, at a regular meeting. Right now, they can only make them once a year at their annual meeting. Okay, so there's that doesn't affect us. The other thing that does affect us is, they've asked for a contact person in the town of Newmarket, and I've volunteered Wendy, the town secretary, to be the funnel point. Okay, stuff will come to her, she'll send it to us, or Steve, or, she'll, probably all of us, whatever, okay? But
Well, they asked for 2 contact points, so certainly I think Wendy is appropriate for one, and are you?
and I put myself as the committee member contact.
Okay,
So,
but it's good that you're also our representative
mhm.
on the committee.
So-
Oh, you mean committee? I thought you meant council. Never mind. Either way, you're the contact.
Yeah, so I'm the contact for CPC, for this committee.
For this committee,
Wendy
yeah.
is the contact for CPC
For the town.
for the town. But
Gotcha.
she'll also funnel some stuff to us, if, just as a CC type of thing.
Gotcha.
What was the other thing? I think that was it.
Well, also that they're requesting that we put in the requests for energy usage. We mentioned that.
Oh,
earlier.
yeah, that's it. I knew there was something else. Yeah, so they're asking all the towns to do that, to send in requests to all the different energy suppliers. So I don't know when that'll happen and when we'll get that information, but it's probably some good stuff that we can add into here.
Well, Peter did it extensively for the 2020 and before that, and gathered a lot. And he struggled with EverSource to get that information, even though it's legally supposed to be accessible. So, are you going to be the one requesting? from
Wendy will actually send the request.
Okay,
So
all right.
They're going to send us a form of, I don't know
The
what
form
the
to fill
form
out.
is going to be filled out to then send on to
Okay.
EverSource, as well as any of the other energy suppliers.
Okay. So CPC&H will send Wendy a form. She'll send it off to EverSource or whoever, and we'll get the information back, and you'll keep us updated.
We'll take a look at it and approve it before Wendy sends it out.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Joe. I saw that email from Henry, and I just was like, I'll wait to hear who the contacts are.
Just one other thing just to keep in mind, when you talked about doing some legislation or tax credits for there's a lot of condo associations in Newmarket, as well as a lot of rental properties. So if you can word it or whatever, so that the associations and the rental properties, the property owner can somehow, get tax abatements or whatever, and hopefully pass it on to their residents. But certainly the condo associations would be able to divvy it up to all their individual condo owners.
Well, that's why the maps would be so helpful to see at the town level and even street by street, like where it even is viable, and then identify who the appropriate stakeholders are, and
That's an exciting
and
development.
make sure you talk it about the right angle for
Yeah,
them.
but like when a condo association, I don't know, it's, the association is doing taxes or whatever, individual units are paying their property taxes, but the condo association is the owner of the thing.
Right.
If the condo association can do something, and divvy up the tax refunds or the tax credits to the individual owners, that would be
Well,
cool.
we could create a program. I mean, this is all, I already have 6 housing bills in right now, and a lot of it does deal with this kind of stuff, but not energy related. But the idea would be you create an incentive program that if you do this, then you would get, whatever, but you could put you get whatever tax reduction. And that could be to the property owners, but they have to agree to it through the HOA, right?
Yeah.
But then they get the tax, they agree to it, and then they get the tax break, but then you could put a provision in that they have to keep rents below a certain amount, so yada, yada. So that way they're passing it on to renters.
The only thing, and you probably know this as well as any, is that at the town level, it's hard for me to see any abatement coming from the town, just because the town's budget, school's budget, they're tight. There's not a lot. The state is much more able to hand out the kind of grants that could really have an impact. I have no idea what the appetite for that is at the state level.
Oh, you know
but
it, it's not.
yeah, I didn't think it was, but I wouldn't hold out that there's a chance of that happening. Not in the near future anyway, with the town already in a tight situation because of inflation.
Where are they
and
going to get the money?
the school in the same situation because of construction. So, I mean, I think there's ways to do it that still makes it economical for people. Whether your energy bill is going down or your tax bill is going down, it's still more money in your pocket, right? So, or potentially less money going out, right? That's what everyone's facing right now. Our power bills have just gone up
The
astronomically.
other thing I was getting at is I own a condo that my daughter lives in, and so I'm on the association there. And they're reluctant to put up solar on common property, okay, or common roofs, and there's no real way for them to get the you know, the tax credit down to all the individual units.
But it is something in theory HOAs can do, and so I think your point is well taken, Joe, that if it's not so much about, you know, is it, you know, what money, where is it coming from or whatever, but if we do something, we want to make sure to include renters, condos, those types of things, and a structure in which that they can filter those down
Yes.
to the owners, but also ultimately the renters.
Yes.
Yes, and your point is well taken. The policy now of not raising the taxes on people who put in solar panels doesn't really cost the town anything.
That's right.
But trying to give them a tax abatement is gonna cost the town, so somehow a way has to be figured out so that it's a wash.
Yeah.
The town can save money in the long run, but they've gotta, you know, get some now.
Well, that's where I
while they
think
pay some out now, you know.
the community power part comes into it there, right? Because
Yes.
if that group can buy the power from those people, you know, at a reasonable rate, like part of the issue is that Eversource doesn't have to pay very much. Like if you produce more power than you use on your solar panels, they are paying a very low rate for that extra power. They've got a nice deal as far as that goes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could change, right? If we're providing the power, we could be a little bit more generous because we're not trying to make the
Yeah.
same profits that an Eversource is, and we don't have expenses like lobbying and things like that that they have. So that's the ideal, is you're lowering people's power rates and you have potential to do some projects around town, like whether it's efficiency too. I mean, that could be the other option for a condo owner or an apartment owner, that they could, you know, have efficiencies for those units that save the people money as well, right? Maybe that's a little easier for an HOA to get their hands around. Because I understand what you're saying about not everybody wants panels. It's hard to get agreement amongst a large number of people on what a building should look like or something like that.
And there's so much focus on single family homes, and because those are easier to deal with, but
Yeah.
you know, having a structure that will address that is when we were doing our Solarize campaign, and I'm just realizing there's nobody here that remembers when we were doing that. Like before, when we first started it, before y'all came on, I'm the only original member from, you know, however many years ago. But we did a request for proposal, we had revision come in, 603, and we talked to them, and I just kept hammering them with how are you going to deal, like everything's centered around single family homes, how are you going to deal with renters, can you do something for renters, can you do something for multifamily units? So anyway, I do want to get us back on course. We have an EAP, a suggested EAP. Was there a vote last time on adopting that as our current suggestion?
Yes.
Okay, so so we have an EAP, and now we have a presentation for the community, right? What is it called?
Yeah, so we were supposed to do a what did we call it?
Forum.
Yeah.
For
so,
the 9th?
yeah,
Yes.
there's a bit of a wrench in that I think it was assumed that I would be the member that was sort of helping coordinate on content, and I can no longer attend because of work. So unless there's somebody else who can step in and do that, I don't think
I
we
can
really
attend the night of.
Sure.
I don't know about work ahead of time because election, I have work starting back up myself and a bunch of bills.
Can you say a little more about what was involved, do you know?
I don't know. I mean, I knew that Henry was going to do the work to prepare the content itself. So, and
Yeah.
he indicated in his email that there would need to be someone
Point person.
help it. But I don't know what he meant by point person. I don't know what the extent of the work that he's asking for is. So
Right.
I could ask for more detail there.
Can you just loop me, at least, if not the whole committee, I think I can probably do this, but if you loop me in together with Henry specifically to get our ducks in a row on the
Yeah.
presentation.
Sounds good.
And
Knowing
this,
what's involved, and maybe it can be shared. Or
absolutely,
something, like,
please, by all means.
Yeah.
Yep. Sounds good.
I mean, I'm fine with
I'm
everybody.
available too, if you would.
I'm
Okay.
definitely planning to be there that day, and I'd like
Oh.
to feel prepared, so.
Well then, like 3 members is better than 1, like, for sure.
I think
I'm
we should
planning
all-
on
yeah,
being
Yeah, I'll
there.
be
Or-
there. I'll be
yeah.
there too.
All right, well, let's just, Emily, you're the only one out.
Okay. So what
But
I
knowing
will
what
do
Henry
is
expects to.
Yeah, I will follow up with Henry and just I'll CC the a group and just
And knowing the format a little bit, I imagine he's gonna share
Yeah.
the slides, and
just
there's gonna be
clarify
people
what
from
his plan is
Durham
and what he needs from us in order to.
Yeah, I get the sense it's more like an introduction
Yes.
and like say who these people are and why are they here, and
Yeah.
then Henry takes over. And
Correct.
It's
Yeah.
a Henry show from
Yeah,
there.
that's what I was.
Yeah.
And we can interject as we feel fit, but so the overall flow of this energy aggregation plan is, and I might get this messed up, so somebody correct me. We come up with, and we have the initial draft. We basically have a forum, but it's not a hearing. There's 2
Right.
public hearings required.
It's like our dress rehearsal.
And so we're just, right, we're just kind of introducing the idea to the community and getting it out there for them. At that point, if there's any changes we want to make, we can make it. We're going to then have a sit down with the council and kind of work with the council on whatever changes they might want to see. Then we'll send it to them. They will hold, do we hold one public hearing and they hold one public hearing, or they're going to hold 2 public hearings?
I don't know,
2 are required.
and 2 have to be held
undecided.
now, whether who holds
And
them.
I think it should.
2 are required, but Henry specifically said it didn't matter. I think he said it didn't matter whether it was us or them. So I mean, it makes sense for us to do one and them to do one. I don't know why they would want to do 2, but you know, we can figure that when. So we either have a sit down with the council after this forum and then work it again and then hold our public hearing.
I feel like this is a question we can solve at the 11:30 meeting after the forum, because having figured out.
We have an 11:30 meeting after the forum.
The date.
November 30th.
Oh,
Sorry.
November. I was
Sorry.
like, what?
Pouring your face.
What's happening?
I'm so sorry. No, it's getting late.
What
for
did
me.
I
I'm
miss?
leaving.
Sorry, November 30th. Okay.
But I feel like we'll
The
learn
flow.
a lot at the forum,
Okay.
and just those relationships, and
All
have
right.
a better sense of what the order of operations
just
should
want
be.
Everyone
your point,
to
yeah.
be mostly on board. So there's a general 2 hearings that'll happen, but we'll basically this forum, some collaboration with the council, and then 2 hearings, and then eventually the council adopts it, and then
I had told the council that the plans were, we would probably have a work session with them sometime in December,
Yeah.
so.
Cool.
Sounds
and then,
good.
And then the public hearings would be after that.
sounds good. That's, I mean, kind of a
Maybe
good.
in our PR, we should extend an invitation to members of the council to come to the forum.
Yes.
I have mentioned it to them
Okay,
at both things, but
We
'Cause
want to
there'll be
make
people
sure
from
Channel
other towns.
13's there so they record it, so then if people can't be, then we can put it on our website.
At
Or
the
our,
forum?
the forum, yeah, they'll record the forum, then we could just have it replayed a bunch of times too, and we can also point people to it at our website.
Okay.
So, because that is how a lot of people get information here.
yeah,
They
I
watch
would
things.
just, next week, whatever, we put some things out on Facebook, what the hell's happening in Newmarket and the Newmarket community thing, just telling people about
I love that picture.
the forum, and yeah, we'll have Channel 13 will be recording it.
And I had a phone call from a lady from Madbury, because she thinks I know all this stuff. And oh, yeah. So anyway, she's coming,
Oh, great.
because she's trying to get Madbury involved
Oh,
with
excellent.
that kind of thing. I don't know if she's bringing anybody else with, but anyway, there'll be one person.
That's how I did it. Like the EE was doing like nothing, and I, well, and I joined, but like I started going to all these towns and the different resources I had, like help me, and Hanover showed up, and
Well,
Yeah.
it reminded me because she said she reads the Newmarket webpage.
Great.
And I thought, geez, I've never read the Madbury webpage.
Yeah,
The
me
Newmarket
too,
ones were
guilty.
interesting.
So she knew about this forum coming up.
Oh, great. Excellent.
So,
That's great.
anyway.
Henry will be pleased to know that.
so it's the 9th. I'm sorry, just the 9th at what time? 7 or?
7.
Okay.
7 p.m.
All right.
downstairs.
So that's not that far away. So after you connect with Henry,
I
if you
will
want to like
follow-
send some action items out for people
Yes,
to like hang
yes.
flyers at the public library again or whatever, we
Yep.
can help.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks from today.
Correct.
Before we close, I have a couple of questions that I would like answered that were raised by today. One is, I would love to see a map of where the ideal places are in Newmarket for solar. And the second is, I would like to know where energy saving is going to do the most good. That is, what individual houses compared to condos and businesses. Because whoever of those 3 groups use the most energy, they're the ones we want to concentrate on first, I think.
Right.
And I'm surprised to see those population figures. I'm beginning to think that condos and businesses and schools probably use much more energy than houses.
Sure.
I don't know if that's true or not, but I would like to know. Is there some way we can?
I was gonna ask
Find
Bill,
out.
it seemed like, could you do some research on that? It sounds like, Patrick, you mentioned where to find that map.
Yeah, I
and
want
that's
it, well,
something
I think we have to request it, but I'll look into that. It's Department of Energy.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, Henry
see if
had some for Newmarket based on the information that we got from Eversource by Peter, so he also has it.
Peter.
No, well, Peter has it, but Peter got it on behalf of Newmarket from Eversource, gave it to Henry, Henry's processed it, and he has that information too.
So is there somebody at Eversource I could?
No, you're gonna wanna talk to Henry. Henry has the information already, for up to 2020.
Okay, what's Henry's last name?
Herndon,
Oh, the guy who's,
yeah, CPC and
So is
HVAC.
that all that's all the power usage, or is that, when you say got it, that's the total number of megawatts the town is using currently?
Yes, and how it distributes down between commercial and residential.
Okay.
But I would like a distribution between condo and houses too.
Oh, I don't know if it goes to that
Yeah, but
level
it
of
doesn't-
Kind of
detail.
the main thing that was raised tonight that I want answered.
I will say that, and Sarah brought this up, that interesting idea, well, the map and everything of where would solar panels be best, it makes sense, and it's kind of good for us, we have so many multifamily homes, because it makes sense that they would be more ideal locations in general than single-family homes. Usually you have big complexes that are cleared of trees,
Stuff we need to find out, yeah.
taller buildings that trees are not obscuring. I know it's gonna be dependent on each individual
Lot of
building.
things to look into.
but in
That's
general.
what I want to start with knowing how it
Yeah.
breaks down between condos and homes.
Yeah, yeah.
So would you reach out to Henry and bring back what you find to us?
I will do that, okay.
I'm,
My question.
yeah, well, yeah,
Yes.
I'd love to know as
Kinda.
well.
It's only fair.
Yeah.
It's only fair.
I mean, my guess is that yeah, the single family houses are using on a per unit basis far more megawatts than an individual condo or
Oh,
apartment
yes,
is.
per
yeah.
unit, but I'm talking about,
Yeah,
in total.
yeah, in total.
From a density,
yeah, I mean, it's exaggeration. If you had 5 houses and they were using a ton of electricity and everybody else lived in condos,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be concentrating on those 5 houses, even though they're very inefficient.
You know what, Bill, I'll look into this, but kind of similarly, from an efficiency standpoint of solar, I've recently learned about solar farms. I'm sure you know much more, Alan,
Yeah.
but, almost from like a CSA perspective, like it doesn't make sense for everyone to have a garden in their yard, but you could pay into an area where it's very efficient to have a massive solar array and
Yes.
still have the benefit of
Yes.
a lower energy bill without having to have the outlay for the infrastructure, and so
That's another big
I think,
possibility.
yeah, so I'll try to learn more about that. And
Well, that's literally kind of what CPCNH is giving us, is
Right.
that ability to do that, and we can either do it with, we can go into cooperation with other towns and come together and create a big one.
yeah.
But basically, it is the community that's paying for that, because they're paying for the electricity that pays for that, right? So,
Yeah. I feel like
but
it's a forum, like talking with Durham
In
about
terms of
seeing if they're
efficiency, just-
interested
The physics of the thing is the smaller the better, because there are transmission costs, and the transmission costs are a function of how far you have to transmit the power. So local generated power is far more efficient than that big public service tit in the sky that everybody feeds from.
As long as
Right,
you
right,
yeah.
have the
It's a good
yeah,
vision.
as long as you have the infrastructure. Like if you do build a big array, you have to make sure you have the infrastructure to take in that power, right?
Sure.
Because it's
Storage,
not
right.
well, not so much storage as like the transmission lines
That's right.
are have to be to a certain size to accommodate. So like if we did have, an array out at the landfill, the capped part of the landfill, you have to make sure that you have the ability to move that power
Of course.
efficiently when you need it. There's a lot of things, and storage should be something that we think of as well. Because if you're storing, there's benefits to storing power, right? There's a lot there to unpack, but it should be part of the plan.
and
Yeah,
with
but,
community,
all those things mentioned, if I repeat, the smaller the better. A little dam that produces some power for just one condo, that's great. there's practically zero transmission costs, and you know, some geothermal to heat somebody. That's great. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons I want to know these things. Condos, if you can have solar panels on condos, the transmission costs. I mean, you know, how can I put it? But it's much more efficient to transmit electricity to 25 condos than it is to 25 houses. So.
You would want everything tied back into the grid, though. The thing is with community power,
Well, it's
the
either-
transmission
it's either the grid or it's the
transmission's still Eversource, right? They own the transmission lines, so we would still be
Yeah.
using their lines even though we have our own power. But if we were to build our own field, for example, we may end up having to do some transmission
That's
infrastructure building ourselves, obviously. So, but it may be that it ends up being cheaper because, as you said, transmitting over a short distance
Yes,
is so
and
much cheaper.
that's a lot of research to be done. I can,
Yeah.
I'll
Well,
start
CBC and
with
H will do a lot of that for
figuring out
us. So.
where the density is.
Yeah.
The
All right.
density of.
It's 8:30. I feel like somebody's alarm is letting us know it's
Yeah,
8:30.
that's, I don't know, I thought I turned that off, but this damn thing sometimes turns itself back on again.
Before we adjourn, is there anything else? So the next steps, Emily's going to loop us in with Henry for the forum coming up on the 9th and see what all we all should be doing for that. As far as our energy plan, everybody please take a run at the link that I will send out to everyone. I think maybe Josh already did send it, I'm not sure, and read that and over the next month. Give these suggestions. I'll put in the outline format that I'm imagining myself, and we're meeting on the 30th.
Do we need to patch Julie and Patrick into any of our Google Docs or our email list?
Are they already added to the? Because I emailed
Joe
the.
added me to
I
the
think I
email
saw that I was
list.
You
added.
added the email.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think
We're on
when
that.
on Google Docs, what we're doing is sharing the email list, and the email list automatically
Yep.
shares all the individuals.
No, I was able to get into the Google
Okay.
Docs, yeah. Yep.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Thank you. I guess at 8. You had something?
No, no,
Ah.
I was laughing at.
At 8:32, I am adjourning the meeting of the Energy Environment Advisory
you.
Committee. Thank you, everybody. It was a good meeting.
Les?